Take it away, Dana White. There's a lot of fights that he just announced.
Now let's go to UFC 323 from T-Mobile Arena on December 6th. The main event, the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Merab.
Merab's back, number 3 pound-for-pound in the world. And dare I say, if he goes out there and beats Yan again, you might have to take that number 1 spot on the pound-for-pound list. This guy is going through some crazy names within a year period.
Makes the quick turnaround to face the number 2 ranked Peter Yan. On the Monday after Merab's title defense at UFC 320, came into the offices here and told us how important it was for him to break the record for the most title defenses in a year.
That's crazy. 4 title defenses in a year for Merab Dvalishvili if he can pull this one off. Say what you want about his fight style. I am going to miss KOs in the bantamweight title picture, which we may never see again, and he is going to run through this entire division. But I have been sick over the past few years of seeing these guys out for a year after a first-round win, or out for a year, or 2, or a year and a half after a first-round victory where they took no damage. Merab Dvalishvili is getting into some scraps with these contenders and taking them 5 rounds. And he's still looking to make a quick turnaround. He just defended his belt against Corey Sandhagen. What is this guy made out of? He literally just defended his belt against Corey Sandhagen. And he went into the office on the Monday morning and said, put me in another training camp and get me on that UFC 323 pay-per-view card in December. Merab is forcing everyone to respect him. There's just no denying it at this point. This is an amazing matchup.
Merab's on a 14-fight win streak and is looking to make an unprecedented 4th title defense in under a year. Merab already holds UFC records for the most takedowns ever, but a win would move him into 2nd place for longest win streak ever. He's got the most bantamweight wins, most bantamweight title wins.
We're sounding like GOAT stuff right here for Merab. You have to accept it. I know a lot of people are in this era of, let's wait 10 years until after he's retired before we even consider calling someone a GOAT. These stats are GOAT stuff only. Okay, if Merab pulls this off, you can't have Ilya sitting above him on pound for pound. I know he's got big wins, but this is an unprecedented work rate of big victories over the past few years of his career.
This kid is on fire.
Still a kid to Dana White, though. No matter what. Even if he's doing all of this and going on to become a GOAT, he's just some kid.
And obviously, Peter Yan is an absolute savage, former champion, and this is a very fun fight. And you got to respect the hell out of Merab for wanting to break this title. I love this shit. I love stuff like this.
Yeah, you do.
In the co-main event, Pantoja defends his flyweight belt against the number 1 contender, Josh Van.
Huge fight leaked by Michael Aswell, which maybe was the reason for how quick this announcement came around after UFC Rio. Michael Aswell literally said Pantoja Van is going to be on the December card. Put me on there. So maybe he'll get on there as well, but thank you for leaking that one, buddy. I needed some video today.
Pantoja's on an 8-fight win streak. He has the most finishes and wins ever in the flyweight division, and number one ranked. All
right. Number 1 wanked. Interesting stuff here. Still got John Jones on his mind.
Josh Van is off a fight of the year contender against Brandon Royval. He seemed to explode out of nowhere and is already looking for his 5th win in under a year to earn that title fight.
Crazy.
He already holds the flyweight record for most strikes landed per minute and striking differential. Simply put, Josh Van is all action all the time. So that's another fun fight. Also on that card, Jan Blachowicz will take on Bogdan Guzgov.
This is a rebooking. It was on an earlier card this year, but now it's been shifted over to this one. I'm happy for it, though. I'm happy for it.
And a badass fight between former 2-division champ Henry Cejudo and Peyton Talbot. So there you have it. UFC 323 from T-Mobile Arena on December 6th. Tickets go on sale next Friday.
Out of nowhere, Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. I'm going to go through some of these fight announcements right here. Wild announcement at the end there of Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. I'm going to get to it at the end of this video, but I did not think Peyton Talbot was going to get number 10 ranked Henry Cejudo after just getting back on a win. You know what I mean? Outside the rankings. When you look at all of the unranked guys at bantamweight, Peyton Tabet gets back on a win, and now immediately he's into this Henry Cejudo matchup. It might be a little bit too much too soon, but they are putting together some fun ones for this December pay-per-view. I'm also going to go through some things I would sprinkle onto the card afterwards as well. That could be a fun thing to do at the end of the video. But let's talk about Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan. You've got to respect it. You have to understand how awesome this is. 4 title fights in the same year. The first fighter in UFC history to ever pull this off. I don't know what Merab is doing that every other fighter on the roster in the history of MMA has not figured out in terms of never getting injured in training camp. Never having something that needs to delay a fight of his. Being able to do 5 rounds against Corey Sandhagen, where he loses a round and maybe a round 4 as well, and gets into a little bit of a scrap with him, goes 5 hard rounds, punching and kicking at shins and elbows. And still he can get right back in there 8 weeks later. This guy is truly the machine. They knew what they were doing when they named him that. Something's not human about this guy. We see guys go 5 rounds and it's time to take a year off before they can even think about a training camp. Merab's putting the whole roster to shame with his activity. This is insane. Absolutely insane from Merab Dvalishvili. And Petr Yan, he tweeted something a while ago after the rematch of Pereira versus Ankalaev and said, "Let it be known, rematches can go differently and are always a different fight." So I knew Yan was getting this shot. It seemed like it was in the works. Yan's been on a win streak. I think he beat, Figueiredo, looked like his old self, and then he beat Song Yadong, and then he more recently beat an upcoming prospect in Marcus McGee. He did what he needed to do. We've got other guys in the bantamweight division. Umar wasn't even a champion. He lost to Merab Dvalishvili, and now he's gonna go on a 1-fight win streak and expect a title shot. Yan has been on a 3-fight win streak, despite being a former champion. I know he lost fights as a contender as well, or did he? With some of them, who knows? But Petr Yan did lose to Merab. It was a dominant victory from Merab. Judging from Merab's previous fights, is Yan that much worse than O'Malley, than Sandhagen, than anyone else that Merab has recently bulldozed through? I don't think so. Yan has been the easiest fight of Merab's career so far. And he did say that he had an injury for it, because all fighters are injured in fights, Ankalaev fans, just to let it be known. But Yan did say that he had a pulled groin for the Merab Dvalishvili fight, but we've never seen Merab shoot as many takedowns since than he did on Petr Yan. I think he shot something like a takedown per 30 seconds in the fight. I think he shot 50 takedowns on Petr Yan. Like 41 or 42 of them failed. And the other 8, Yan got right back up from. But Merab just kept shooting takedowns. Every single 30-second period, he was shooting in on the hips of Petr Yan. Do I think this is going to be more of a competitive fight? Yes. Do I think this is likely going to be a 49-46 or a 48-47 instead of a 50-45? Yes. Do I think that Merab is most likely going to defeat Petr Yan again? Yes. No one's beaten Merab. I don't see it ever happening. And if he does win, you're talking a resume of, over the past few years, Aldo. Include Marlon Moraes, but regardless of Marlon Moraes, Aldo, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley. In between that, Umar Nurmagomedov, Sean O'Malley again, and now a Petr Yan rematch. Corey Sandhagen as well, just a week ago. How could I forget about the win he just got a week ago? The amount of times this guy is going to beat his contenders, you have to put him number 1 pound for pound in the UFC if he pulls this one off. Unless Makhachev beats JDM, I guess, right? Then he would also be undeniable. But I reckon JDM's going to paste him out in round 2 or 3 by TKO. But Merab's a beast, man. Merab is an absolute beast. The activity is unprecedented. He is truly already the GOAT of the bantamweight division, and he's paving his way to being the GOAT of the sport with this kind of activity. What's he going to fight? Someone in March of next year, and then July, and then September, and then December again? How does this guy go through training camp after training camp after training camp? No torn ACLs, no injuries, no nothing. Right back in there like he never got any damage whatsoever. Crazy stuff. And he does sparring sessions on fight day. He sparred for 5 rounds, hard, before the Corey Sandhagen fight. I saw a guy in the flyweight division gas out after failing 2 takedowns the other day against Lucas Rocha. Stuart Nickel was his name. These guys need to ask Merab what he's doing differently than every fighter ever in UFC history before. It's insane. There's more to discuss, though. Pantoja versus Van. This is an amazing fight. I thought they were going to save this one for the Paramount card because it would be good to have Van on the Paramount card because it's going to be a big deal and Van is very promotable and it'll be good for the flyweight division. But I think this is a massive fight for the flyweight division. Van has got all the hype in the world after that Brandon Royval win. I'm glad they didn't leave it too long. That might be a good thing that we didn't leave this until January or February or March. Worst case scenario. It's good that Pantoja is also staying active, and Pantoja, you guys know I got a show with Demetrius Johnson. He's on the horizon of GOAT himself. You heard Dana White say it, the record for wins in the flyweight division, the record for finishes in the flyweight division. If he goes out there and beats Joshua Van, the number 1 contender, this is a top contender in his division, a real title fight defense, not some Asakura bullshit. If he does that, we're going to have some real difficult conversations again. Okay, if you're not already having those conversations based on the level of talent in the division. I know DJ upholds a lot because I think a lot of people underrate the legacy of Demetrius Johnson, and the title defenses that he had cannot be ignored. But legacy in the modern era is extremely potent. It really, really is. Everyone is really good at what they do. And Pantoja is dealing with a lot of them. I reckon Pantoja's going to win this one. I reckon he's going to... The thing is with Van, I like Van. Dana White said it in the announcement. He said this guy seemingly popped up out of nowhere. And he did pop up out of nowhere. Because he started training 6 years ago. I nearly said 6 or 7 years ago, but people have really annoyed me with that recently. Can't even say logical things about 6 or 7 years ago anymore. But yeah, he started training about 7 years ago, I would say. That's what he says. That's when he started his MMA training. And on the feet, if he's got some natural talent in striking, that can be you can overcome that level of inexperience. But when Pantoja's on his back, I really believe that 6 years of experience is going to become very obvious. So I'm going to say that Alejandro Pantoja makes easy work of Joshua Van, gets his back in the first or second round, and submits him with a rear naked choke. Alejandro Pantoja 6 or 7 years ago was fighting the likes of Figueiredo and Askar Askarov and top contenders in the UFC. And then just a few years later, he was fighting for titles in the UFC flyweight division when Van wasn't even on the roster yet. And I think that is a level of experience that I don't think Van can overcome, especially in the jiu-jitsu and the scrambles and the grappling. Plus, Van's a little bit small for the division as well, so Pantoja's physicality advantage that he has over guys larger than him in the division is going to be even more apparent in this matchup. So I'm going to go with Pantoja getting this one done, early submission. But if Van wins, you got a superstar in the flyweight division. But at this point, I'm looking at these two guys, Pantoja and Merab. Super fight after this. Please. I tried mentioning this and it gets shut down all the time. Super fight. If Pantoja beats Van and Merab beats Yan. Merab has already said, and this is really fun, he said he would lose to Volkanovski, so he doesn't want to move up and challenge himself against him because he respects him as a man and he thinks he's so good, and maybe when Volkanovski's gone, he'll challenge himself at 145, which is always fun. So that is not a possibility for Merab to move up to 145, at least anytime soon. So let's do Merab versus Pantoja, please. If they both get past these matchups, you have to do that. Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. I've got Jan Blachowicz winning this one. This was announced ages ago for another card recently, and they ended up postponing it because of some cancellations. So, it's all good. Jan is back. It's always good to have Jan Blachowicz back. I think he beats Bogdan Guskov. Very hard to KO Jan Blachowicz. Many have tried. Alex Pereira, Allberg, these guys who have made a knack for finishing top-level opponents in the UFC. So if Jan Blachowicz wins this one, you've got to give him a big fight. An Ankalaev rematch, even Ankalaev couldn't finish him and had a really hard time with him, Ankalaev couldn't do it. Pereira barely scraped by against him in a kind of fight that could have gone either way. And then you've also got the fight with Allberg that I thought Jan got robbed in. So Jan is truly one of the most underrated fighters in the roster. If he's still in form, or even if he's still in his post-prime form that he's currently in, and he currently has been in, I think he'll easily dispatch of Bogdan Guskov. Probably by KO, but definitely at least by decision, I would say. And if he does, Yuri Prohaska, whoever doesn't get a title shot at light heavyweight, if they're not going to do Pereira up at heavyweight, if Tom beats Cyril Gane, for whatever reason they could use to justify not doing that, also another super fight. This is one of the super fights where we get guys moving up in the division where Merab versus Yan, this is, by the way, or sort of Merab versus Pantoja, sorry. We get a lot of champions moving up prematurely. Makhachev doesn't want to fight Topuria, so he just moves up. Ilya doesn't want the rematch against Volk. He's already done it so perfectly the first time, so he just moves up anyway. I can't make the weight anymore. What happened to real, justified super fights? This is that. If they both get past these opponents, you have to make that fight on a Paramount card. That is a goated matchup that we need to see in 2026, and I think both of them are going to win. We've also got this. Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Tabet. Crazy. Favoritism of the highest order. O'Malley had the same treatment, but I feel like even O'Malley had to go through a few contenders and actually be on a win streak before they gave him Pedro Munoz, who was barely ranked at the time. So this is interesting favoritism, but hey, Peyton Tabet, you know, he lost to Raoni Barcelos. No ranked opponent for Raoni Barcelos. Has gone on to win since then. Still no opponent for Raoni Barcelos, guys. No ranked guy for him. That's how that works. He beat Andre Lima, who I think is 1-0 or 1-1 in the UFC, 2-1 maybe in the UFC. And he won by decision. So Peyton Tabet's getting number 10 in the world. I don't think he's going to win it, guys. I think they should have waited a little longer. They should have made like a Peyton Tabet versus an Adrian Yanez. I know Yanez took a bullshit matchup recently. But they should have made something along those lines, you know, some kind of matchup just outside the rankings that was good for Peyton Tabet, like a Cody Garbrandt versus Peyton Tabet. That would have been a sick matchup that I think Tabet could have won by KO because of Garbrandt's boxing defense. Henry Cejudo in his fight with Song Yadong, I was very harsh on him about the eye poke because he was there with his eyes wide open, saying, I can't see anything, man. Kamaru, I can't see, man. What's going on, man? I can't see, man. And he's absolutely fine with his eyes open, which I've never seen before when someone's reacting to an eye poke. So I kind of judged him for it. But if you look back at the fight with Song Yadong, a number 5 contender in the bantamweight division right now, Henry was still doing his thing. He's still tough. He's still got a granite chin. He's still strong to the body, to everywhere. It's hard to break a Henry Cejudo. And he still had a decent go of it with Merab, even though he lost the last 2 rounds. Had a good moment in round 1, took down Merab in round 1. He's still a top guy. And I reckon he'll be able to get down Peyton Tabet. And I think he'll even be able to hang with him on the feet as well. So, although it's a big fun matchup and there is a lot of hype behind it, I do think this is, again, too much too soon. If Raoni Barcelos, not even a year ago, was too much too soon for Peyton Tabet, this is way too much, way too soon for him. So I'm going to go with Henry Cejudo pulling this one off. And I think he knows what he's got here. He's got a big name with a ton of hype. And I think he knows that this is a very winnable matchup for him, so he's looking for it. And if he wins this one, he'll start eyeing up some top contenders, coming off losses, some big names. Maybe Yan loses to Merab. They do him versus Cejudo. Maybe he fights Corey Sandhagen after this. There's a lot on the line for Henry Cejudo here. Those are some big fights. The cards are really good. What I would sprinkle on to the rest of this December card, if we look at the rankings right here, which there's a lot of. I don't think anything's going to happen at featherweight. I don't think anything else is going to happen in some of the lower divisions, but I'm looking at the welterweight division here when it comes to finding matchups to make on this card, to add on to this card. Where is Sean Brady? Where is Rakhmonov? I know someone came out with a news story a couple of months ago saying Rakhmonov's re-injured his leg. He's going to be out for another 10 months. And Rakhmonov responded to it saying fake. So clearly there's something on the horizon for Rakhmonov. And Brady was looking to fight Ian Gary in Vancouver, and Ian Gary turned it down for the Bilal Muhammad matchup instead. So they're both ready to go. Number 2 versus number 3. Put that on the main card. Sean Brady versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's an epic fight. We could also do, if that's the case, or if Rakhmonov's not ready, Brady versus Morales. If Rakhmonov is ready and we do get Brady versus Rakhmonov, we could get Joaquin Buckley versus Michael Morales on the card somewhere. That's a very good fight. We could get certain ones they're going to save for the Paramount cards next year. But that's what I'm immediately thinking about for this card, you know? Even like a Jamal Hill, Volkan Ozdemir in December. Something along those lines. Maybe a heavyweight matchup that they could make between Curtis Blade, like a rematch of Pavlovich Blades 2. Although not too hyped, that card's going to be pretty weak. Maybe they could do Pavlovich versus Delija. That could be a cool fight for the December pay-per-view card. Sprinkle a few things on. There's already some other stuff on the card already, I know. But that December card does need a bit of help, in my opinion. It's losing that consistency. And something good about when a card hasn't got the strongest title fight in co-main without like stars like Ilya and, Chimaev, Pereira, and Volkanovski and some big name